Probably, when I started out and I changed my major 3 times, and I wasted a lot of time going to college and taking classes that I wasn't real successful in, that I really didn't like until I found the education path. And, once I got in the education path, I started making good grades, and I was able to get a good job. And um, so I guess I wasted a couple years of my life going to school and wasting money and time in class that did me no good. And then I worked in coaching and teaching for about 7 years, and right after that, I decided I want to be a principal, assistant principal. So I got my master's degree, which took me 2 years, and then I was a assistant principal for 2 years, and I've been a principal for 16 maybe. And about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I did my superintendent certification, which took me right at a year. So I guess all in all, college, 4 or 5 years for a bachelor's, 2 for a master's, and a year for superintendent certification. So close to 8, I guess. We were outside all day after school or in the summer. We didn't have video games, rode bikes a lot, built forts, anything you could do outside. We had, you had to have an imagination. We couldn't go lock up in our rooms and play video games all day like, kids are able to do today. So we got a lot of exercise. Didn't have cell phones, so we knew when the sun started going down, it was time to go home and eat supper. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. I had one sibling. We weren't real close. He was 6 years older than I was, so we didn't do a whole lot together. And he went to college and moved to North Carolina, and so I don't see him but about once every 3 years at Christmas. But we talk and text every now and then. But we weren't real close growing up. But I had a lot of neighborhood friends that I did a lot of stuff with. No, I don't. I see them on Facebook every now and then, and we'll maybe comment to each other or something like that. But really, I don't, and that's another thing I probably regret is all the time we spent together growing up, and then I grew up in Louisiana, and then now I've moved to Texas. It's just kind of I've lost all contact with them. So I guess that's another thing I regret is not keeping contact with close friends. I have not. I've never known a grandfather. Both of my grandfathers died before I was born. I've known one grandmother, and she died probably 20 years ago. So I wasn't fortunate enough to grow up and go into grandparents' house and stuff like that. But I'm real close to both my parents. They live in Monroe, Louisiana, about 3 hours away. Talk to them all the time. Of course, we spend holidays together, and they always come over here and visit the grandkids and go to their games and stuff like that. But I guess if I've lost contact with a family member, it's my one brother. Nothing, between us. We just don't talk a whole lot. Oh wow! If I knew I had 3 weeks to live, I would spend as much quality time as I could with my wife and kids. And my parents. I would make sure that my financial stuff is in order, so when I passed, they wouldn't have to worry about anything, life insurance and stuff like that. Make sure my kids' educations are paid for. I'd like to make sure that the house that we live in now would be paid for my wife, so she wouldn't have to worry about making house payments when I'm gone. But make sure I'm right with the Lord before my time comes, and that my wife and kids do the same. So, well, the very first time I flew, I think I was a sophomore in high school. Our football team, high school football team, was in the playoffs, and had somebody had chartered us a plane to fly to New Orleans for the playoff game. My dad was a coach. And it was supposed to take us like 30 minutes to fly to New Orleans, and it actually took about 2.5 hours because the weather was so bad. We had to go through like Mississippi and Alabama and circle around to get to New Orleans. And the wing of the plane, and I was sitting right there at the wing on the window, actually got struck by lightning in the air. And it was, panic and chaos as you could imagine, with a bunch of high school kids on there and getting struck by lightning. And But we made it, thank goodness. I got sick, but you know, every plane trip I've had since then has been very good. But it took me a while to get used to the turbulence, you know, when you're up in the air. But I just kept telling myself it's like, you know, when you hit a bump in the road when you're driving, the car's going to move some when you're driving. So the plane moves quite a bit in the air, and that used to scare me a lot, but it doesn't much anymore. But I've always been, it's just always intrigued me the fact that something that weighs so much can fly so fast, so high in the air, and get you somewhere so quickly. You know, and when you're walking off the plane and you can look in the cockpit and all those gadgets and, you know, switches and lights, I would think it would take a lot of preparation and schooling time to be able to do that. But I don't know, I think I'd like to fly a plane if I could. I know I'll never be able to, but I think that would be pretty cool to be able to do that. Oh yes, that's one of my hobbies. People ask me what my hobby is, and it's my family. We always do stuff together, go out to eat together. You know, I coached my son's baseball teams from t-ball all the way up till he graduated high school, and we played in tournaments all the way from Metroplex to Bossier City, Louisiana, and everywhere in between. So, and that was every weekend, about 10 months out of the year. So we spent a lot of quality time on the road playing baseball, and my daughter played softball. So that's what we like to do, hang out as a family. Yes, I mean, in a blink of an eye, I mean, that's what I tell parents all the time, you know. As freshmen, they'll come in and say, "Oh, I can't believe my baby's a freshman, and it's going by so fast." And you know, I always tell them, "Just wait. You know, they're going to be walking across the stage accepting their diploma, and it's going to seem like 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, time goes by so fast, and the 4 years here at high school go by so fast. It's hard to believe." And you'll be up here for long, and you'll be walking across the stage for long, and you'll go, "Golly, it's flown by." But time flies, and so yeah, it was pretty hard. I mean, because it seems like, you know, their childhood went by pretty quickly. I guess because we were having so much fun. Love being a principal too. Yes, I love the small school atmosphere. We have about 320 kids, and I probably know 90% of their names or more. I love the relationships you can have with all the kids in a small school. Been at a big school, and I had about 400 kids per grade level, and so here I got about 320 for the whole school. So I like the small school much better. It'd have to be real good because you know, I've been doing this 22, 23 years, and I've been to 5 or 6 schools, and this is by far the best school I've ever been at. So, I mean, there might be a better one out there, but I hadn't found it, and I'm not looking. So, this Troop's a great place, and when I first got here, I called it the best kept secret in East Texas because, I mean, I always knew Troop was here, but I didn't know it was this good. I mean, the facilities are great. We've got great teachers and faculty. The community's wonderful. Support the community supports our kids every time we play an athletic event or have a band concert or one act play. I mean, the stands are full, the theater's full. I mean, everybody likes to come watch our kids in Troop, and I love that part about it. Great job.